The warning signals came first as tiny blips on the screens of Earth's deep space monitoring stations. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the command center of the UES Guardian, watching the dots grow larger as they approached the outer edge of the solar system. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he barely noticed. These were not asteroids or space debris. These were ships, and they were coming fast. Lieutenant Lisa Carter looked up from her communications console with worry in her eyes. She had been trying to make sense of the strange signals for the past 3 hours. The patterns were too organized to be natural, too complex to be random noise. Someone was out there and they were trying to talk. "Captain, I'm getting clearer signals now," Lisa said, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "It's definitely artificial. Some kind of language, but unlike anything in our databases." Jake walked over to her station and studied the scrolling data. In his 15 years of service, he had never seen anything like this. Earth had been listening to the stars for decades, hoping for this moment, but now that it was here, he felt a cold weight in his stomach. Dr. Alex Bennett rushed into the command center, still wearing his lab coat from the research section. His hair was messy, and his glasses were slightly crooked, but his eyes were bright with excitement and fear. As Earth's leading expert on the possibility of alien life, he had dreamed of this day. Now he wondered if it might be humanity's last. "Captain, we need to follow first contact protocols immediately," Alex said, slightly out of breath. "These signals are definitely from an intelligent source. We're looking at actual alien contact." The main screen flickered and suddenly filled with an image that made everyone in the command center step back. The aliens were tall and thin, with skin that seemed to shimmer like crystal. Their faces were angular and sharp, with large eyes that reflected light like mirrors. When they spoke, their voices came through the universal translator with a tone that sounded amused. "Greetings, primitive inhabitants of the third planet," the lead alien said. His name appeared on the screen as Admiral Veltar. "We are the Zephyrian Confederation, and we have come to survey your quaint little world." Jake felt his jaw tighten at the word primitive. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, studying every possible scenario for first contact. None of the simulations had prepared him for aliens who seemed to think humans were some kind of joke. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force," he replied, keeping his voice steady. "We welcome peaceful contact with your people. We request that you follow standard diplomatic procedures and await proper clearance before approaching our planet." The aliens on the screen looked at each other and made sounds that the translator interpreted as laughter. Admiral Veltar's eyes sparkled with what seemed like genuine amusement. "How adorable," Veltar said. "The little creatures think they have procedures. Look at their tiny metal ships playing at being warships. It's like watching children play with toys." Lisa's hands clenched into fists as she listened to the translation. She had worked for years to perfect Earth's communication systems, and these aliens were treating her efforts like a child's game. Dr. Bennett stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his caution. "Admiral Veltar, we would be honored to establish formal diplomatic relations with your people. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting to discuss mutual cooperation." The aliens burst into what could only be described as delighted laughter. One of them, wearing what appeared to be a science officer's uniform, pointed at the screen and said something that made the others laugh even harder. "Cooperation?" Veltar said, wiping what might have been tears from his crystalline eyes. "Oh, these creatures are precious. They actually think they have something to offer us. Their entire technological civilization is barely advanced enough to leave their own atmosphere." Jake felt his patience wearing thin. "With respect, Admiral, humanity has successfully established colonies throughout our solar system and has been exploring space for over a century." "A century?" another alien exclaimed. "How impressive. We've been traveling between stars for longer than your species has existed. Your little rockets and metal habitats are charming, truly, but hardly worth our attention except as curiosities." The main alien fleet was now visible on the long-range sensors. Lisa counted at least 30 ships, each one larger than Earth's biggest space stations. Their design was elegant and alien, made of what looked like living crystal that pulsed with internal light. Compared to them, human ships looked crude and primitive. Admiral Veltar leaned forward on the screen, his expression becoming more serious but still condescending. "Now, little humans, we need to discuss the future of your planet. The Zephyrian Confederation has decided to place Earth under our protective custody. Your resources will be much better managed under our guidance. Protective custody, Jake repeated, his voice rising despite his efforts to stay calm. Earth is a sovereign world. We don't need protection. Of course you do, Veltar said with the patience of an adult explaining something to a small child. You're clearly too primitive to manage a planetary ecosystem properly. We've seen what happens when young species are left to develop on their own. Wars, pollution, resource depletion. It's much kinder to step in before you destroy yourselves. Dr. Bennett's face had gone pale. What exactly are you proposing? Nothing too drastic, another alien said cheerfully. We'll establish a few monitoring stations, take control of your more dangerous technologies, and guide your development along more civilized lines. Think of us as helpful older siblings. The command center had gone completely silent except for the hum of electronics. Every human present understood what they were really hearing. These aliens weren't offering help or protection. They were announcing a conquest, and they thought humanity was too weak and stupid to resist. Jake looked around at his crew. Lisa was staring at her console with barely controlled anger. Dr. Bennett was frantically taking notes, probably already thinking about how to warn Earth's governments. The other officers were checking their weapon systems with the automatic responses of trained soldiers. Admiral Veltar, Jake said slowly, I think there may be some misunderstanding about humanity's capabilities. Oh, I doubt that very much, Veltar replied with amusement. We've been monitoring your broadcasts for decades. We know exactly what you're capable of. Crude chemical rockets, primitive nuclear weapons, basic electronics. Very impressive for such a young species, but hardly a threat to anyone but yourselves. The alien fleet continued its approach toward Earth, moving with the casual confidence of beings who believed they faced no real opposition. On the screens, Admiral Veltar was already discussing landing sites and resource extraction plans with his officers, as if humanity's opinion on the matter was irrelevant. Jake Morrison looked at the approaching ships and made a decision that would change everything. He activated a communication channel that very few people knew existed, one that connected directly to Earth's most secret defense networks. This is Guardian Actual, he said quietly. We have a Code 7 situation. Unknown hostile fleet approaching Earth with invasion intent. Recommend immediate activation of all defensive protocols. The response came back immediately. Guardian Actual, this is Defense Command. All systems are standing by. Let's show our visitors what cute really looks like. The Zephyrian fleet moved through space with the lazy confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. Admiral Veltar stood on his bridge watching the primitive blue world grow larger on his screens. His crystalline fingers drummed against the command console as he planned the most efficient way to establish control over the planet and its adorable inhabitants. Commander. Ryan Phillips watched the alien ships approach from his position aboard what the aliens assumed was a simple research station. The structure looked harmless enough from the outside, just another human attempt at deep space science. Solar panels, communication arrays, and observation domes gave it the appearance of a peaceful outpost studying the stars. The aliens had no idea they were flying directly into the most heavily armed fortress humanity had ever built. Ryan's fingers hovered over the activation controls as he waited for the signal from Earth Defense Command. Around him, his crew prepared weapon systems that had been hidden inside the station's innocent-looking exterior. What appeared to be scientific equipment was about to reveal its true purpose. Commander, his weapons officer called out. The alien fleet is passing through the outer sensor grid. They're not even bothering to scan us properly. Ryan smiled grimly. The aliens were so convinced of human weakness that they weren't taking basic military precautions. Their arrogance was about to become their downfall. The signal came through his earpiece. All stations, this is Defense Command. You are authorized to engage. Show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. Ryan pressed the activation button and watched as his research station transformed before his eyes. Solar panels folded back to reveal missile launchers. Communication arrays rotated to become targeting systems. The observation domes opened like flowers to expose heavy particle cannons that had been waiting patiently for this moment. The first alien ship to encounter Ryan's station was a sleek scout vessel that had been sent ahead to examine the primitive human installations. Its crew was probably making jokes about human technology when the station's weapons suddenly appeared and locked onto their ship. The Alien Captain had just enough time to register. Shocked before Ryan's cannons opened fire. The scout ship's elegant crystalline hull, designed to deflect energy weapons, cracked under the impact of projectiles it had never been designed to handle. The ship spun out of control, its crew frantically sending distress signals back to the main fleet. Admiral Veltar received the panicked transmission with confusion rather than alarm. How could primitive humans damage one of his ships? His science officer was studying the readings with growing bewilderment. "Admiral, the humans appear to have weapons we didn't detect," the science officer reported. "Their technology is more advanced than our initial assessment suggested." Veltar waved a dismissive hand. "Impossible. We've been monitoring their transmissions for decades. They barely have fusion power. One lucky shot doesn't change anything." He was about to learn how wrong he could be. Captain Emma Rodriguez sat in the pilot seat of her fighter craft, hidden among what the aliens thought was a small asteroid field. Around her, 50 other pilots waited in ships that looked like nothing more than space debris. The human vessels had been designed to be invisible until the moment they struck. Emma had been waiting for this fight her entire life. Every human pilot dreamed of the day they might have to defend Earth from alien invasion. The aliens had made it clear they thought humans were too primitive to pose any threat. Emma was about to show them the difference between primitive and underestimated. "All fighters, this is Rodriguez. Target selection is yours. Show these crystal heads what human pilots can do." The fighter squadron burst from their hiding places like angry hornets. The alien ships, still reeling from the attack on their scout, suddenly found themselves surrounded by fast-moving human craft that seemed to appear from nowhere. Emma targeted the nearest alien vessel and fired everything she had. Her ship's weapons had been designed specifically for this moment, built to punch through alien defenses that no human had ever seen, but that Earth's best engineers had spent decades imagining. The alien ship she hit didn't just take damage. It exploded. Major Steve Coleman coordinated the attack from his hidden command post buried deep inside what appeared to be a mining asteroid. His screens showed the entire battlefield as human forces revealed themselves across the solar system. Every installation the aliens had dismissed as harmless was suddenly bristling with weapons. Steve's job was to make sure every human attack hit at exactly the right moment. The aliens had superior technology and numbers, but humans had something the aliens couldn't understand: the willingness to sacrifice everything to protect their home. Station 7, target the cruiser on your left. Station 12, focus fire on their command ship. Fighter groups Alpha and Beta, hit them from below while they're distracted. The alien fleet, which had been flying in a loose formation designed for intimidation rather than combat, suddenly found itself under attack from every direction. Their ships, beautiful and advanced, had been built for battles against other civilized species who fought according to predictable rules. Humans didn't follow rules. They fought like cornered animals, using every dirty trick and desperate tactic they could imagine. Admiral Veltar's bridge shook as human weapons struck his flagship. Alarms blared as his crew struggled to understand what was happening. His tactical officer was shouting reports that made no sense. "Admiral, we're detecting weapons fire from installations we classified as civilian. The humans have concealed military assets throughout their system." "How many ships are we facing?" Veltar demanded. "Sir, it's not ships. It's everything. Every human installation in this system appears to have hidden weapons. We're under attack from directions we didn't even know existed." Veltar stared at his screens in growing horror. The cute little human outposts were tearing his advanced fleet apart. Ships that had traveled between stars for centuries were being destroyed by creatures the Zephyrians had dismissed as barely civilized. Dr. Alex Bennett's voice came through the communication channels, broadcast to every alien ship in the system. His tone was calm and educational, like a teacher explaining a simple concept to slow students. "Admiral Veltar, you made a fundamental error in your assessment of humanity. You saw our determination to protect our world and called it cute. You saw our defensive preparations and called them primitive. You assumed that because we guard our borders carefully, we must be weak." Another alien ship exploded as human fighters swarmed around it like angry insects. The aliens' elegant weapons, designed for long-range battles between civilized fleets, couldn't track the erratic movements of human pilots who flew like they had nothing to lose. "What you failed to understand," Dr. Bennett continued, "is that humans don't just guard our world because we're afraid. We guard it because we love it. And there's nothing more dangerous than someone fighting to protect what they love." The alien fleet, which had approached Earth expecting an easy conquest, found itself fighting for survival against an enemy they had completely misunderstood. The humans weren't primitive. They were patient. They weren't cute. They were lethal, and they were just getting started. Admiral Veltar's confidence crumbled as his fleet continued to take devastating losses from an enemy he had completely underestimated. His ships were scattered across the solar system, trying to avoid the human attacks that seemed to come from everywhere at once. What had started as a simple conquest was turning into a nightmare. Colonel Maria Santos sat in her command chair deep beneath the surface of Mars, watching the battle unfold on screens that showed every corner of the solar system. For 20 years, she had overseen humanity's secret military expansion, disguising weapons platforms as peaceful research stations and mining operations. The aliens had fallen for every deception. "All units, this is Santos," she spoke into her communication system. "Phase 2 is now active. Begin revealing secondary defensive positions." Across the solar system, what the aliens had assumed were harmless civilian installations began their true transformations. Asteroid mining platforms extended weapon barrels that had been hidden inside drilling equipment. Research stations on distant moons opened launch bays that released swarms of automated defense drones. Even the solar collectors that powered human colonies rotated to reveal particle beam weapons. Captain Tony Walker commanded a patrol ship that had been drifting in the outer solar system for months, powered down and invisible to alien sensors. His crew had been waiting patiently in the cold darkness, monitoring alien communications and studying their technology. The Zephyrians had no idea that humans had been watching them long before they announced their arrival. Tony's ship, the Silent Runner, looked like a derelict freighter from the outside. Its hull was scarred and patched, its engines appeared to be barely functional, and its weapons systems were completely hidden. The aliens had detected it weeks ago and dismissed it as space junk not worth their attention. "All right, people," Tony said to his crew. "Time to show these crystal heads what a real ambush looks like." The Silent Runner's engines roared to life with power that no derelict freighter should possess. Its hull plates slid away to reveal weapons that belonged on a battleship. The ship that had appeared dead in space suddenly moved with speed and agility that shocked the alien fleet. Tony targeted the largest alien cruiser and fired a spread of missiles that had been designed specifically to penetrate crystalline armor. The alien ship's captain barely had time to register the attack before his vessel was torn apart by explosions that seemed to come from inside its own hull. Admiral Patricia Green coordinated the human response from her hidden command center on Earth's moon. She had spent her entire career studying alien military tactics through intercepted communications and careful observation of other species. The Zephyrians fought like most advanced civilizations, with honor, following established rules and expecting their enemies to do the same. Humans didn't fight with honor. They fought to win. "Commander Phillips, redirect your fire to support Captain Rodriguez," Patricia ordered. "Major Coleman, I want those alien supply ships targeted before they can retreat." Captain Walker moved to intercept their command vessel. The human battle plan was unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered. Instead of neat formations and predictable strategies, human forces moved like a living organism, with each unit supporting the others in ways that seemed chaotic, but were devastatingly effective. Lieutenant Commander Peter Davis led a boarding team that had just successfully infiltrated an alien destroyer. His soldiers moved through the elegant crystalline corridors with weapons designed for close combat in alien environments. The Zephyrians had never faced an enemy willing to board their ships and fight hand-to-hand. Peter's team encountered a group of alien soldiers near the ship's power core. The Zephyrians were tall and graceful, with energy weapons that hummed with advanced technology. They moved with the precision of beings who had trained for combat in civilized wars against civilized enemies. They had never fought humans. Peter and his soldiers attacked with a ferocity that broke the aliens' formation within seconds. The humans used every dirty trick they knew, fighting with the desperate creativity of a species that had spent millions of years learning to survive against bigger and stronger predators. The alien soldiers fell back in confusion and fear. Their training had never prepared them for enemies who fought like cornered animals, using tactics that seemed insane but were terrifyingly effective. Dr. Helen Brooks worked frantically in her laboratory on Europa, converting industrial equipment into weapons of war. Her facility had been designed to study alien technology through careful analysis of intercepted signals and debris. Now she was using that knowledge to create weapons that could punch through alien defenses. Helen's greatest creation was a mining laser that had been modified to burn through crystalline armor like paper. The aliens had assumed that human industrial equipment was primitive and harmless. They were learning that humans could turn anything into a weapon when their home was threatened. "Command, this is Brooks," she reported. "The industrial conversion program is ahead of schedule. Every human facility in the system now has military capability." The aliens were beginning to understand that they had walked into a trap. Every human installation they had dismissed as civilian was revealing hidden weapons. Every ship they had ignored as harmless was suddenly attacking with lethal efficiency. The humans had turned their entire civilization into a defensive weapon. Admiral Veltar's science officer delivered a report that filled the admiral with cold dread. "Sir, our initial assessment was completely wrong. The humans have been preparing for this kind of attack for decades. Their entire space infrastructure is designed for defense. How is that possible?" Veltar demanded. "Our intelligence gathering was thorough. We monitored their communications for years. They deceived us, Admiral. Everything we saw was carefully designed to make us underestimate them. Their real military capability was hidden from the beginning." Veltar stared at his tactical display, watching his beautiful fleet being systematically destroyed by an enemy he had thought was harmless. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were winning. Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication channels, speaking to the entire alien fleet with the calm authority of someone who held all the advantages. "Admiral Veltar, you came here expecting to find a primitive species that would surrender without a fight. You thought our defensive preparations were cute because you couldn't imagine that someone might actually be prepared for invasion." Another alien ship exploded on Veltar's screens, torn apart by weapons that seemed to appear from empty space. "What you're learning now is that humans have spent our entire existence preparing for threats to our home. We've been invaded before, by our own species and by nature itself. We've learned that the only way to survive is to be ready for anything." The alien fleet was in full retreat now, but the humans weren't letting them escape easily. Fighter squadrons harassed the fleeing ships while hidden weapons platforms continued to fire from unexpected directions. "You called us cute because we guard our world with death," Jake continued. "You thought that made us weak. But you're beginning to understand that when humans fight to protect what we love, we become something much more dangerous than cute." The battle was far from over, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The aliens had underestimated humanity's true nature, and now they were paying the price for their arrogance. The Zephyrian fleet was in complete chaos. Ships that had once moved in perfect formation now scattered across the solar system like frightened animals. Admiral Veltar watched his tactical display with growing horror as more human weapons revealed themselves with each passing minute. He was beginning to understand that the humans had been holding back their true capabilities from the very beginning. General Kevin Murphy sat in the deepest command bunker on Earth, surrounded by screens that showed weapon systems the aliens couldn't even imagine. For 30 years, he had overseen the construction of humanity's ultimate defensive network, hidden platforms in the outer solar system, buried weapons on asteroids, and mobile battle stations disguised as space debris. The aliens thought they had seen everything humans could do. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Admiral Veltar," Kevin's voice echoed through space on all communication frequencies. "You made the mistake of thinking that what you saw was all we had. You're about to discover what humans build when we really want to protect something." Deep in the asteroid belt, massive structures began to move. What the aliens had assumed were mining operations revealed themselves as mobile fortress platforms, each one larger than the biggest ship in the Zephyrian fleet. These platforms had been under construction for decades, hidden among the rocks and powered by fusion reactors that had been disguised as industrial equipment. Captain Nicole Carter commanded the lead fortress platform as it emerged from its hiding place among the asteroids. Her ship was not elegant like the alien vessels. It was a brutal instrument of war, covered in weapons and armor designed for one purpose: the complete destruction of any threat to Earth. "All platforms, this is Carter," she announced. "Primary targets are the alien command ships. Show them what human engineering looks like when we're not trying to be cute." The fortress platforms opened fire with weapons that dwarfed anything the aliens had brought. Particle beams that could crack planets lanced across space, followed by missile volleys that filled the void with deadly metal. The aliens' beautiful crystalline ships, designed for battles between civilized species, simply disintegrated under the assault. Admiral Veltar's flagship shook under impacts that his shields couldn't deflect. His engineering officer was shouting reports that made his blood run cold. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. The humans have weapons platforms we never knew existed. Our ships are completely outgunned." Veltar stared at his screens in disbelief. How had his intelligence been so completely wrong? How had a species he thought was primitive managed to hide such devastating military power? Commander Greg Thompson led his special operations team through the corridors of an alien battleship they had boarded, using stealth pods that were invisible to alien sensors. Greg's soldiers moved with the deadly efficiency of predators who had trained their entire lives for this moment. The aliens were about to learn what humans could do when they fought in environments that should have been impossible for them to survive. The alien crew they encountered was in a state of panic. These beings had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity. The humans seemed to adapt to any situation, turning every disadvantage into a weapon and every obstacle into an opportunity. Greg's team reached the ship's command center and found the alien captain trying desperately to coordinate his fleet's retreat. The captain was tall and elegant, with crystalline skin that reflected the light from his ship's displays. He turned to face the humans with what might have been courage or simple shock. "How did you get aboard my ship?" the alien captain demanded. "Our sensors showed no human vessels in this area." Greg smiled grimly. "That's because you don't understand what humans are really capable of. We've been preparing for this fight since before your species knew we existed." The human soldiers secured the alien bridge with movements that seemed almost casual, but were devastatingly effective. The aliens found themselves prisoners on their own ship, captured by beings they had thought were too primitive to pose any real threat. Dr. Amanda Foster broadcast a message to the entire alien fleet from her research station on Titan. Her voice was calm and educational, like a professor explaining a difficult concept to confused students. "Admiral Veltar, you're probably wondering how you could have been so wrong about humanity. The answer is simple. You saw what we wanted you to see. For 50 years, we've been carefully managing every signal we sent into space, every piece of technology we allowed you to observe." Another group of alien ships exploded as hidden human weapons found their targets. The aliens were learning that their enemy had been planning this battle for decades, preparing for threats that most species couldn't even imagine. "You thought we were cute because we seemed so concerned about protecting our little world," Amanda continued. "What you didn't understand is that this concern isn't paranoia. It's experience. Humanity has survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, and countless wars. We learned long ago that the only way to survive is to be ready for absolutely anything." Lieutenant Colonel Robert Taylor coordinated the final phase of the human counterattack from his mobile command post. His screens showed alien ships fleeing in every direction, pursued by human forces that seemed to multiply with each passing hour. Every asteroid, every space station, every piece of human technology in the solar system had revealed hidden weapons. "All units, this is Taylor," he announced. "Begin the demonstration protocol. Show our visitors what human defensive capability really looks like." Across the solar system, weapons platforms that had remained hidden began to reveal themselves. The aliens watched in growing terror as human military assets emerged from seemingly empty space. Camouflaged battle stations uncloaked near Jupiter. Hidden missile platforms rose from the surfaces of distant moons. Even the solar collection satellites around Mercury rotated to show weapon arrays that could sterilize planets. Admiral Veltar finally understood the scope of his error. The humans hadn't just been defending themselves. They had been testing their defensive systems against a real enemy. Every human weapon, every tactic, every strategy was being evaluated and improved during the battle. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a message from the human command structure." Dr. Amanda Foster's voice filled the alien bridge one final time. "Admiral Veltar, you came here thinking you would find a primitive species playing at civilization. Instead, you found the ultimate expression of defensive evolution. Humans don't just protect our world because we're afraid. We protect it because it contains everything we care about: our families, our history, our future. The last alien battleship in the inner solar system exploded in a burst of light that could be seen from Earth. The humans had won not just a battle, but a complete victory over an enemy that had thought them harmless. You called our protective instincts cute, Amanda concluded. Now you understand that when a species spends millions of years learning to survive, cute becomes terrifying. When love becomes the motivation for war, no force in the universe can stand against it. The alien fleet that had approached Earth with casual arrogance was now fleeing in terror, pursued by humans who had proven that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. Admiral Veltar's once mighty fleet now limped through space like wounded animals fleeing from a predator they could never have imagined. Half of his ships were gone, destroyed by weapons that had appeared from nowhere. The survivors were damaged and demoralized, their crews struggling to understand how their advanced civilization had been so completely outmatched by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Guardian, watching the alien retreat with satisfaction but no celebration. This battle had been necessary, but he took no joy in the destruction. He opened a communication channel to what remained of the Zephyrian fleet. Admiral Veltar, this is Captain Morrison. I'm offering you a choice. You can acknowledge Earth's sovereignty and leave our space peacefully, or we can continue this demonstration of human defensive capabilities until none of your ships remain. The response came after a long pause. Veltar's voice was no longer arrogant or amused. It carried the weight of complete defeat and dawning understanding. Captain Morrison, I accept your terms. The Zephyrian Confederation acknowledges that we made a grave error in our assessment of humanity. We request permission to withdraw from your system. Dr. Alex Bennett stepped forward to address the alien fleet directly. His scientific mind had always been fascinated by the possibility of alien contact, but this encounter had taught him that not all meetings between species would be peaceful. Admiral Veltar, before you leave, you need to understand what happened here today. You didn't lose because humans are more advanced than your people. You lost because you fundamentally misunderstood what drives our species. The main screen showed the scattered remains of alien ships drifting through space, testament to the power of human defensive systems that had been hidden for decades. Around them, human vessels moved with purpose, ensuring that the surviving aliens understood the terms of their departure. You saw our defensive preparations and called them cute because you thought they showed weakness, Dr. Bennett continued. You couldn't understand that every human institution, from our families to our governments, exists for one primary purpose: to ensure that our homeworld remains safe. General Rachel Turner took control of the alien escort mission from her command center on Mars. Her job was to make sure the Zephyrians left human space and understood that they were never welcome to return with hostile intent. All escort units, this is Turner, maintain safe distance but ensure our visitors understand they're being watched. Any attempt to deploy weapons or recording devices will be met with immediate destruction. The human escort fleet consisted of ships that looked nothing like the elegant alien vessels. Human ships were functional, brutal, and obviously designed for war. They moved around the retreating aliens like shepherds guarding dangerous animals, ready to strike at the first sign of treachery. Commander Scott Johnson led the escort squadron personally, his ship maintaining a position where its weapons could target the alien flagship at any moment. His crew had spent years training for this mission, preparing to ensure that any alien force leaving Earth space understood the consequences of returning. Admiral Veltar, Scott announced, you will proceed directly to the edge of our solar system. Any deviation from the designated course will be considered an act of aggression. You will also transmit a full record of this encounter to your government and any allied species. The aliens complied without protest. Their beautiful ships, designed to inspire awe and submission in primitive species, now moved with the desperate haste of beings who had learned to fear their former victims. Captain Susan Clark coordinated the post-battle analysis from her position aboard a mobile command platform. Her teams were already studying every aspect of the encounter, analyzing human weapons performance and alien technology with the systematic thoroughness that had made this victory possible. All units, this is Clark, begin data collection on alien ship debris. Every piece of technology they left behind is valuable intelligence for future encounters. Human salvage teams moved through the battlefield with the efficiency of scavengers who had turned survival into an art form. They collected alien technology, studied alien tactics, and prepared improvements to human defensive systems based on what they had learned during the battle. Dr. Amanda Foster prepared her final transmission to the departing alien fleet. This message would be recorded and transmitted throughout the galaxy, ensuring that other species understood what had happened when the Zephyrians tried to conquer Earth. Admiral Veltar, you will carry a message to every species in your confederation and beyond. Tell them that humanity is not a primitive species playing at civilization. We are the product of millions of years of evolution on a world that taught us to be ready for anything. The alien fleet reached the edge of the solar system, their sensors detecting human weapons platforms that extended far beyond anything they had imagined. Even here, at the very boundary of human space, defensive systems watched and waited for threats that might come from the endless darkness between stars. Tell them that what you called cute protective instincts are actually the ultimate survival trait, Amanda continued. When a species learns to love something enough to die for it, they become the most dangerous force in the universe. Admiral Veltar's final transmission was broadcast throughout human space, recorded for posterity, and as a warning to any other species that might consider Earth an easy target. This is Admiral Veltar of the Zephyrian Confederation. I am transmitting an official warning to all spacefaring civilizations. The species known as humans is not primitive or weak. They are the most dangerous defensive organism we have ever encountered. Do not approach their world with hostile intent. Do not underestimate their capabilities. Do not mistake their protective nature for weakness. The alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying word of humanity's true nature to civilizations across the galaxy. Earth's reputation would spread from species to species, not as a cute backwater world inhabited by harmless primitives, but as the fortress world of beings who had mastered the art of survival through absolute dedication to protecting their home. Captain Jake Morrison watched the last alien ship vanish from his sensors and allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Earth was safe, and the galaxy now knew that humanity was not to be underestimated. The aliens had come looking for an easy conquest and found instead a species that had turned love into the ultimate weapon. Dr. Foster's voice echoed one final time across human space, speaking words that would be remembered whenever other species considered whether to approach Earth with hostile intent. You came here thinking we were cute because we guard our world with death. You discovered that this isn't cruelty or paranoia. It's love. We protect our home because it contains everything we care about. That's not cute. That's terrifying. And now the entire galaxy knows what happens when someone threatens the thing that humans love most. The solar system returned to its peaceful appearance. But beneath the surface, human defensive systems remained alert and ready. Earth would never again be caught unprepared, and the universe would never again make the mistake of thinking that humanity's protective instincts were anything less than absolutely lethal.